D'accord. Bonsoir, bienvenue au département de français. Moi, je suis Madame Makowska et je vais vous parler du département de français. Et donc, good evening, everyone. I'm Mrs. Makowska and I look after French studies here at Prendergast. I'm hoping that you're looking at my first page, talking about why to study French at A-level. You can read that for yourself, but I think it makes it very clear that French is spoken widely around the world, and we are looking at, for example, an emerging continent such as Africa, where 59% of individuals who speak French live daily, who speak French daily actually live in Africa. So we're looking not just at the European countries, but across at least 2 continents there. A-level language is well viewed by many universities, and it's a subject that sits well alongside other subjects. Your sciences, maths, humanities, a language sits alongside those very, very well. And it's a skill for life. It's not just a skill you're learning to pass an A-level, but a skill that many people who didn't continue their language studies regret not having pursued sort of more actively. Okay, a very important language still in the world. Our department at Prendergast, you'll be taught by 2 specialist teachers. They take 3 lessons each a week, 5 hours each week, 10 hours overall, but you obviously are expected to complete your own private study, complete your homework, and obviously learning vocabulary at the same time. Our classes can be between 6 and 10 people, so very small, but it does allow us for a lot of individual attention. It allows us to help you more easily, and it allows good discussion in our lessons. There are no hiding places when there are only 6 of you in the room. Our results have been excellent for many years. Okay, you can see on the website that we have done very well. This year, obviously the real exam didn't happen, but we already had an ALPS 2 when the students were taking their mock exams in December. So we were fairly confident it would have been a good year. We take trips up to the French Institute fairly regularly up in South Kensington. Last year, we managed to see the screening of a film that had just been released, and the actors were there to take a question and answer session at the end. We'd also been to the theatre to see a quite bizarre play, but it was good fun. What does the course look like in year 12? We talk about the changing nature of the family. We look at the role of technology. We look at volunteer work, all things that are very, very relevant themes in contemporary society today, but obviously we're looking at them in French-speaking countries and France itself. We look at French heritage, what it's given to the world and the French-speaking world, music across French-speaking countries again, and cinema. So obviously cinema had its beginnings in France. In the 3rd term of year 12, we begin to study either a book or a film. And that continues into year 13, and I'll talk more about that later. In year 13, our topics tend to be a little meatier, if you like, looking at the diversity of French society and French-speaking societies in all the different aspects of diversity. We look at what life is like for those who don't fit in, for those who are marginalized in society. How are they treated? Who are these people? And then looking at criminality. How do we punish? Is that punishment effective? Are there other forms of punishment that would be more effective? And again, remember, this is all in French that we would be discussing this. Second part of that, again, topics such as politics itself, immigration, the number of protests. Is it worth protesting about anything? Does anything ever get changed through protest? The French love a good protest and a good strike. The right to vote, young people and their political engagement, all very, very relevant topics, I think, to young people today usually are very interested in the government and politics side of society. And all of that obviously is how that affects the French-speaking world. We begin in year 13, your preparation for your individual research project, which plays a role in the speaking exam. Going on from there, these pictures and illustrations show you the kinds of things we have studied in the past, what films and what novels we may have studied. Again, no guarantee what we might be studying next year because we change them regularly, just for our own satisfaction too, for our own interest. And we look at the class and see what kinds of things they want to study too. So last year, for example, we had 2 novels. We had Nous et moi and Bonjour Tristesse, whereas this year it is Bonjour Tristesse again and Entre les murs as a film. The exam, paper 1, obviously a long exam there, carrying half the weighting of the A-level exam. The listening is one of the hard skills, but unlike GCSE, you now have control of the listening element. And you may have, for example, 4 passages, and you can rewind and forward wind those, or take them backwards and forwards as many times as you wish, obviously within the scope of that time limit, and you have other things to complete. Paper 2 is based on our literature and or film, and paper 3 is the speaking exam. And in that speaking exam, there is a stimulus card, and there is the IRP, stands for your individual research project. Given that that is your individual research project, you have a lot of control over what you would wish that project to be. All it has to be is from a French-speaking country. In that 21 to 23 minutes, 5 minutes only of that is preparation. The rest of the time is speaking. Expectations, what do we expect of you? Obviously, you need to be well organized, you need to be learning your vocabulary, you need to be keeping up with your homework, you need to be listening to French radio, TV programs, newspapers, social media, comparing what's happening in a French-speaking country, possibly to your own country. We expect good participation in the lessons, and as I said before, there really is nowhere to hide in a class that is fairly small. Be prepared to share your opinions in the language. Even though some people might sound like they're far more fluent than you, everyone has their own skill. Somebody who may be more fluent than you may not have your grammar base, and vice versa. The long and the short of that is it's a marathon, not a sprint. You need to persevere. You need to work regularly. Obviously do what we say, but again, pursue your own research, be an independent learner. And if that is the case, usually everything will go well. Okay, I'm just going to try to come back to you in order to take any questions you may have. And hopefully you might have me on the screen now. And I'm just opening up my chat box. If you have any questions, if you'd like to type them in. In the meantime, I can just talk a little bit more about the speaking exam, which tends to be the one that people worry about most. Last year, for example, someone picked a French film director, a female French film director, and she compared her work with work from the Nouvelle Vague. And it was very, very successful. Somebody else looked at the fact of looked at French colonies and how they affect young French, and in her case it was Belgian young people today. I have a question: what French books would you recommend we read now? Anything you like, really. What sometimes is useful is reading a novel that you know well in English and reading the parallel version in French. I think in the past, I know you're getting a bit old for this now, but some people have read, for example, Harry Potter, something that they are completely familiar with in English, and they use it to help them to read the French version of something. I'm looking on my wall here. I'm looking Kif Kif Demain. I can see, Bukunmi, that was your question, is a quite straightforward novel and a nice one for a young person. Le Petit Prince, The Little Prince, something like that, something nice and straightforward and yet with a deeper message. Le Petit Prince, I will go for that one for now. Any other questions? We do tend to be able to supply everyone with their own textbook in both years. The novels tend to be fairly inexpensive to buy if you get the right one. The films we can normally pass around to people so they can watch them again at home in comfort, or they can share them. People in the past have set up their own film club so they could watch them together on one of our screens in the classrooms, which was nice. In terms of any reading or preparation you would do now, there are newspapers, some newspapers which are aimed at young people, have some very contemporary articles and some nice reading articles. So even if you're not going for a book, look at Le Monde online, look at Libération, even read Paris Match for some of the sort of less, some more sort of Hello magazine type articles. Just read as much as you can. Okay. And I'm going to give you 4 minutes to go to your next session, if there are no more questions. Okay, thank you for, merci, bonne soirée, au revoir et à bientôt.